starting at the top.
Yeah, beautiful. So the theme for those that are just tuning in out of the blue is about bootstrapping a rapidly scaling business, and the questions are all around that. So we got a question from Dee to kick us off, which is, what measures can we use to know when to stop investing personal savings into the business, or when do you cut your losses and walk away?
Well, that's a good question. Let me start by talking about bootstrapping, because I think if anyone hears the term bootstrapping, they assume that all business or small businesses are bootstrapped or are not playing at a big level. Bootstrapping can be not only just in a startup phase of a self-funded business, but it can also be when you've got investment into a different product, a different innovation, something that's going on in your business. So there's always elements of bootstrapping that you will need to do if you're self-funding a business. And even if you do have funding, there are times when you want to do stuff, but you can't commit full resources to it, right? That's part of the innovation. So great entrepreneurs and great business owners work out how to get these things some momentum to see if they're getting the results they want, and then work out whether we should have further investment. So this idea of bootstrapping is around really resourcefulness, what you have at the time. And commonly that's at the startup phase when people may be new to business, they're bootstrapping everything because actually the investment is coming directly in two ways: out of their savings, out of their income that they're currently earning, or they're selling some of their time for not much money. So the investment actually is that direct investment in time, which is a commodity you need to start tracking. I know a few business owners that actually knew that that was their only commodity, so they got a second job and only used that money to invest in their business because they knew the job would pay them more and they could use that money to get in the infrastructure and people to grow that business, and they've been very successful. So there's a couple of ways to carve this up. But the question then inevitably becomes, well, how much do I spend? And this is very important. And for all of those of you who've been tuning in around Backable and the way that we approach business, you need to be strategic even from the start. You need to set stop losses around your energy, effort, and investment. Now, what makes this hard is every entrepreneur you'd listen to, which is you've got to just push through. You've got to hustle harder. You've got to keep moving. You've got to always go for it. You can never give up. There are elements of that that are absolutely true. The bit you have to decide is, when are you smashing your head against a wall and that wall's not moving? It's time to take a sidestep and move around it. Right strategy, wrong approach. Wrong tactic, right strategy. Whatever it is. Now, if that's investment from a point of view of I'm spending money, well, what are you getting as a return on that investment? So let's look at your private investments. If anyone here invests in any form, and I obviously can't provide any financial advice, but when you put money into something, are you just seeing what happens, or are you expecting it to give you a return? So if you buy a share, is it, I'll just see how it goes, we'll see. If I lose on my money, that's okay. Some people actually do that. Some people also do that in their business. So it's a philosophy that you have around how you feel that your investment should be. Your business is an asset class. It is part of your investment portfolio. I am building up an asset, which I call my business at the moment. Why that's attractive? Because to start a business, you don't necessarily need to use huge resources. You can sell your extra time if you're working somewhere else. If business is your full-time job, you can find extra time. The one good thing about being the owner and working really hard is Fair Work don't knock on your door. They seem to turn a blind eye if you work 80 to 100 hours a week, which I'm sure everyone here has had that experience. But we do need to understand, at what stage do we stop a strategy that doesn't work? Let me give a silly example. You've been turning up to a networking group for 5 years. For the last 3, you haven't seen the results you need from the networking. Not emotional, because sometimes you go there for a secondary gain, which is, my friends are there now. I'm dealing with, different things. But if you're there to grow your business, are you growing your business, and by what measure? And that's really important, because where most SMEs fail is they overcapitalize in strategies and tactics that simply aren't getting a fast enough return. And that's not the game we can be in. Now, if you're in the game where you're learning, no problem. Right? We're all in there, right? We're learning different things. But if you know your business now and you know the client you need, and you're spending time, energy, and money and not getting a result, why are you repeating that process to get the same result? And this is important because we've got limited time and resources when we're bootstrapping. So we actually have to be brutal on it. I'm brutal on it in my companies, and we've got some resources to spend in areas, but I still hate wastage. But wastage isn't experiments. We run a lot of experiments and everyone would say, geez, you wasted a lot of money trying that. No, that's different. That's a budget for innovation. It's not wasted money, we're learning. And when you start to become more mature in business, you get more experience, you realize what's really wasted money and what's planned investment. Someone looking from the outside in who isn't in business won't understand the differentiation. If I lose 100 grand on something, but it saved us $1 million 2 years down the track, that's an excellent investment. If I lose nothing and get that same result, that's even better. But that's not always the case. Sometimes I have to stage my approaches to limit us spending too much time. It's why there's this whole agile thinking in business. Sell the product before you build it, because it costs too much to build it and then redo it. And my guys in the early years particularly, and maybe even more so now, I shouldn't even try and pretend it's any different. We sell in real time because we see the opportunity and know we can deliver it with our resources. So if the opportunity comes up to sell that, we'll sell it and build it during the delivery. And the first time we do that, we might not have priced it right. But we use that to build something in terms of that's an investment in the development. I don't mind running the first few clients through and maybe not making any money. I've limited my downside. So I think part of that question is, where am I spending the wrong money? Where am I throwing away the wrong money? And where am I classing every dollar the same? So how you look at your investment into your business, what's actually well spent money and what's poor, what's slippage, what's laziness? Because we have this experience, obviously, with our private company, our performance consultancy, we have to sometimes go through this with clients. Because sometimes when you see a consultant, I know there's a couple of consultants on here as well, there's an education process of, I could probably get away with not seeing you for a few months. And they realize they're in trouble, cash flow is getting tight, so they actually get rid of the infrastructure that's going to help them out of it the fastest. It's counterintuitive. But to have faith in your business, you need to know where I need to spend at what time. So when I need more leads and you're running out of some cash, do you pull the advertising? Most people do. So they pull the thing that's going to get them out of that. Now, here's the hard bit. Is the advertising effective? Because most people go down the route of blind faith. I better keep doing those ads. Why? What's the return on investment so far? Negative 10,000. Pull the freaking ads. If you're expecting something, right, you got to keep refining these things. And this is the thing that actually excites me about most SMEs. The game, say from the first 0 to $1 million turnover, is not that difficult when you get a few things triggering right. And most people in your competitor fields are pretty ineffective. They're not there to build businesses. They're there to build a wage to support their lives. If you actually approach it with, I want to build something, I want to build a competitive business thing, you're going to do really, really well. And so I think for that question, the answer is start to look at all your money and start to decide what each dollar should be doing. I've spent here. What have I bought? I've run an experiment here. What have I learned? So if you experiment with digital marketing and say you put $10,000 as a budget for the first go, what do you expect to either return or learn? That was the investment. If you haven't, You've made a mistake as the CEO. You've made a mistake in the people you've gone to because they can't provide you that. And you shouldn't have made that decision because you weren't ready for it. It's a waste. Wastage can add up. And not only can add up, it does add up because we've got limited resources. So I want you to really think about, where are you spending money? Now, here's the kicker. A lot of us don't have cash to invest in these things when we're growing an SME. So we sell our time too cheaply. And this is a big one. This one should resonate with everyone listening. Your time has to have a value. So if you can go get a job at a supermarket at $25 an hour, I don't know what it costs to be in a supermarket, but just call it $25, and you're doing an extra 20 hours a week. So you can make an extra, $500? Would you be better off working that job or doing the extra 20 hours in your business? Are you returning better than that? Now, tongue in cheek, there's a lot of learning and things like that, but you've got to start evaluating that, right? Because it's the same discipline that you'll have as you start to grow, where you'll start to work out when to outsource and when to buy your time back. So for me, I know exactly what I value an hour of my time in my business, and I'm not selling time for money. I know what's my impact. So is it worth Tim cleaning the office twice a week to save $200? No, because my effect of that 3 hours should be 100 grand by the end of the year, for instance, whatever it is, across my group, whatever it is. But that's different for everyone, right? So I want you to just start thinking about that, because if you can get that performance mindset, you start making better decisions. You start saying yes to meetings you should and no to meetings you just shouldn't go to. You don't have time to have the nice meetings. Yes, this is the excuse. Yes, something always comes of it. Crap. It would have come from it anyway. You have to start getting better at increasing the 1 in 10 something comes for it to 1 in 2. Does that make sense? Because just at the start, we've got to get you to some critical mass so you've got some money to be able to spend and get some infrastructure around you. Not play Mr. Nice guy and girl. You have to start being good at this. And this is the beautiful thing. SMEs are hopeless at it. Oh, I've got to go to that thing or they'll be upset I didn't come for that drinks. Who cares? I really have to do that because Why? I've really got to get home because I got to pick up my kids. Awesome. Do you do that every week? No, I do it every night. Good. Do you think 3 nights a week we could maybe see if we could pay someone to do that so you've got the time just to get to critical mass? Tim, you don't understand. The kids need me. Fine, that's a decision. But you've got to start evaluating every point, because that's got a different secondary gain, right? That's an emotional thing. You want to be there for your kids. I've got no problem with that. This is not a judgment around building your family. This is looking at it from a performance mindset, which is, how's every minute of my day spent while I'm in the build phase where there's so much pressure on me? Because you're going to learn so many skills for when you get a bigger company, you can use them to keep the momentum going. Does that make sense to everyone listening? This is important. Half of our job when we get clients come in is buying back their time and seeing how much they're selling it for that's just way too cheap. And the hard bit is, it's nerve-wracking because you go, I can just do the cleaning, an extra $200 for my family. It's going to make a big difference at the moment, Tim. I go, no. You've not made $200. You've cost them $10,000 in a year. Because if you know what to do with your time, you would never sell it for that cheap. And that's the mindset we've got to start getting in. And there's a balance, because there's also a reality of sometimes you just don't have the cash flow. And that's the balance between an SME of knowing when to go. But that's why we have to keep looking at it. I look at it monthly. Where can I buy more time? So in one of our businesses right now, we're bringing in a senior hire, a really senior person to take 30% of my time. I have to make more from my time now than that senior hire. I have to out-earn them 3 times. So let's say it cost me $200,000 to bring that person in, just ballpark figures to make it easy. By the time you've got offices, this, that, wages, all the things that go along with it, right? So if I buy that time back, I need to earn $600 from my effort of having the things that are going to be removed from Tim. Great. And how do I do that? Not the $200, because I'm not better off, am I? I want to make some money. So remember, we're in the business of growth and we have to keep making profit. Now, at the start, you may only buy your time back. That's okay. We'll have to start somewhere, but the philosophy has to be understood. But this is what you can't do. You're not allowed to bring in someone, spend the money, and take 5 years to earn that back. You've got to set the deadline for when your freed up time or your freed up resource is going to repay you. And that's when you get ultra smart. I was having this conversation with a guy who was talking about stocks. And we're talking about, hey, what shares you buying at the moment? Give me your philosophy, blah, blah, blah. Everyone's talking about crypto, all this sort of thing, right? Well, anyway, we're just talking. And I'm saying, well, how much are you going to put in? He goes, I'm thinking about $250,000 into this. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, why? Because I like to understand people's mindset. You learn something and then, you never know. And he goes, oh, well, it could return me 10% by the end of the year. Oh, that's great. I said, what's $250,000 in your business worth? He goes, what do you mean? I go, well, what if you put 2 more resources and you filled them over the next year? He goes, well, I'd make 700. I said, you're getting excited by the stock, are you? That's going up 10%. And he'd never thought, now, wait a minute, I'm going to put a caveat here because this is it. An investment into assets is different. There are other conversations around he doesn't need to do anything. The asset grows without him. So just for everyone listening at home, don't go nuts. You don't need to write in. I understand that too. I'm just trying to make a decision around looking at everything as your asset class around where you're at. He knew that if he put 2 more people in, he could earn 700 grand. And he was like, but I'd never thought about it because everyone buys shares. I go, yeah, but you're in a building stage of your business. You can use that leverage to go up. Now, what we decided to do was just split the difference. Why don't we put 125? We'll think about doing that. But see if you can build up 1 more resource. See if you can get that going because that's going to pay off for the next 5 years because there's risk associated as well. And I don't want to dismiss risk. It's not always, sunshine and lollipops. But do you get the philosophy? We're talking there of $250,000. Think about a day of time in your life. Think about one of your sales strategies that's really just not working. Great idea, it's not working now. That's okay. We have to throw it out. Let's shelve it. How much are you actually investing in your business right now? So if you need personal growth, what are you investing in it? Something. This time is an investment. And I respect that, by the way, for everyone on. I respect you for making the time because I know that you've got limited resources, everyone here, but you choose to grab something. That's why I want to contribute because to me, that's a huge amount of time you're giving me to try and work with you, right? So I want you to get something out of it. I actually literally want you to make some cash, not just sit here and go, oh, that was nice, Tim. Wonderful. I'll see you next week. No, I want you to take this idea and go, how do I apply what this fool just said, right? What did he just say? This is what I'm going to do. Great. What can I do right now to make myself an extra 1,000, 10 grand? So what's one thing in your week? Rip it out that's not working, shelve it, put something else new that you can get a better return. So going back to the question, if you're bootstrapping, start to respect your pot of gold, your money, your resources, your time, and here's the missing one, because when we're all under a bit of stress, your energy. That is a finite resource when we're under a lot of pressure as SMEs. So we've got to respect it. And we've got to understand how to get more of it, but also know how not to go into the bank too deeply in it, because it's not great to work flat out for a month and then need to take the next 2 off because you hate your business. Okay. So we've got to start getting mature around how can I work at my best right now? It's a great question, Nigel. I'm not sure if I hit all the points that it was there, but was that what you were thinking? Did you have any response to that or around?
No, I think it was all super valid. I think valuing my time is probably where I'm struggling the most. I haven't really decided on how much my time is worth. Therefore, I'm probably doing things that I shouldn't, and then I'm probably paying too much in some areas as well. So just going through each dollar and asking whether it's well spent or poorly spent, I think is my first step and going from there.
Well, maybe I'll give you a practical thing if you guys don't mind. Let me give you a practical way of working it out. Whatever your turnover of your business or your role is right now, I want you to write the amount of hours you spend on your business. Don't go stupid. No one works 120 hours. It's a lie. We think we do, but we don't. I'm talking about effective hours. Okay, so if anyone put a number higher than 80, I don't believe you, but you do what you want. But let's just say, what do you on your average work on your business per week? Take your revenue and divide your hours for the year and just call it 48 hours, right? Because I'm hoping you take a month off by the time you go through your Christmases and breaks and Easters and, it normally works out. Let's just call it 48. And then just divide your revenue. That's your impact on your business from a revenue generation point of view. It's an interesting number because then you start working out, how do I make that go up by $10, $100, $500? And a whole business model can come from that because you start to get excited. When I started this, I worked out what was my impact on the business by minute. How do I make an extra 50 cents? Now, how do I make an extra $10? But $10 a minute's a big number when you work it out. But it's a good place to start because it gives you an idea of where you shouldn't be spending your time. Does that make sense? So it's exciting because it becomes easy. If I said, hey guys, gun to your head type stuff, you had to make an extra 20 cents a minute. You'd find some ideas. Make sense? But it isn't meant to be more motivational around, oh, right, I can break this down and look at some of the things that are ineffective, not feel terrible about yourself. The whole point is progress, looking where we're at and moving forward. I used to spend so much wasted energy at the wrong time helping others because I felt I was a nice person, so I wanted to help them out. But I've got my loved ones, my staff, all these things that at the time I should have been more disciplined in that. But that's okay. What's 5 years? But you get my point, right? As soon as you understand this, let's start to work out, how do I get that higher impact? At worst, I'd love you to get the efficiency and just work less. At best, I want you to find some things that really work for you and start to bring in some resources to build your business. So for all of you that I've been harassing about, bring in some staff, trying to get some technical people to help or a support structure around you, that's part of this point. How do you know when you need an EA? How do you know when you need a PA? How do you know when you need another technician? How do you know when you need someone to do your Facebook ads because you can't be bothered? How do you know when you need a bookkeeper? How do you know when you need to pay your accountant more because you don't want to think about some stuff? When you start getting that level of leverage because you understand the value you bring, because your value is not in learning or doing the things that they can do. Your value is in the rainmaking. Your value is about understanding what you're trying to build personally and putting that infrastructure around it. Or the fancy word as you become bigger is leverage. And then leverage comes in the form of different ways. The more successful you become, more time, more resource, access to finance, understanding investment into your business again. Make sense? Well, for all of you watching at home, that was a single question that went for 28 minutes. I'm glad if you haven't fallen asleep, nice to have you on. We might flick it. We might flick it off now, Nigel, and we'll ask the next questions and open the forum up. For all of you watching, thanks for joining in, and you're welcome to join. Just click through in the links. But for now, we'll see you later.